Hello, welcome, and good morning, my dear fellow shining beings from all around the world and all across the times and spaces and the multifold dimensions. It is I, Sylvia, coming to you live from beautiful Eastbourne by the sea, which is always beautiful whether the sun shines upon it or not. And today it is very cold outside, but here in the studio it's lovely and warm, and I am looking forward to talking about the act, the act of writing a book, or many books, as the case may be. The thought came to me to do a live on that topic that has so many people pulling their hair out, but it becomes a lot easier when you're a modern energist. So I look forward to be getting into that in a little while. If you're watching the replay, please hit that like button, subscribe, help the channel grow. Just over 1,500 subscribers now. Woohoo! Very exciting. And I look forward to, spreading the good word, as it were. All right. Very happy good morning to Carol Ann and to Marianne. Hello, my darlings. Among my very favorite shining beings, you are here with me today. And as you can see, I have behind me, yes, I have behind me a few books that I've written. This is not by all means all the books I've written. I've written a lot more than that. In fact, I have written so many books that I have a very hard time remembering them all or making a comprehensive list. I have tried to do this on many occasions, and earlier at that, when there were fewer of them, and I've always missed some. It's just because they're going over a very wide range of topics, and some things are over here and other things are way, way over there. But they're books, and my aspects wrote them. I didn't write them, my aspects wrote them. I can't write all of those books. There have to be many, many aspects involved over a long time. So very first book, and I was looking for a copy of one, but I couldn't find one this morning. I wrote in, or rather my aspect wrote in 1998. 1989 actually, 1989. Your Dog and Your Baby, a Practical Guide. My aspect was pregnant at the time and was a dog behavior specialist, animal behavior consultant, and was really horrified by the way sort of medical professionals, midwives, nurses, and so on reacted to the fact that I had a lot of dogs. And they were like, oh, you're going to have to put them all down now, that sort of thing. And this sort of attuned me to a problem that existed, that people often get into relationships, in England at least. And then the first thing they do is they buy a puppy. And then a couple of years later, the first child comes along, and then they don't know what to do, and they get given all this bad advice. And so my aspect thought, being in that situation at that moment, to write this book, Your Dog and Your Baby, a Practical Guide. And she wrote it and sent a proposal off to lots and lots of publishers and got back, this is that long ago, the actual rejection slips, real life rejection slips. And what they are is somebody has printed out a single piece of paper with the words, no thank you, basically, not interested, over and over and over again on this one piece of paper, and then used a pair of scissors and cut them out into these thin slips that would then be dropped into the self-addressed stamped envelope that the author had included with their inquiry. And then you'd get these letters back and you open them up and there's this little rejection slip inside that says, no thank you, don't like it, go away now. Yeah, that's that long ago. I'm actually quite happy that I remember this now. Many years later, it's kind of a badge of honor to actually have received rejection slips back in the day. Well, so Aspect decided it was still a good project. and self-published the book, which was really difficult back in the day. And really, I've never really looked back from that. And there was this moment when the lorry came and delivered a pallet of these books, 1,000 books. And yeah, delivered them on a glorious, glorious day. And the pallet was placed on the drive. And my aspect went and opened one, and for the very first time held a book in her hands that had her name as the author on the cover and on the spine and on the back. And it was an actual book. And that was such a remarkable experience, such a remarkable star event. It had such an impact on the aspect self-esteem, on her, what she thought of herself in life, what she could possibly achieve. It was very difficult to describe. But because of that star event, I now encourage people and I say to them, write a book. Do it. If you've always wanted or thought about it, or even if you haven't, write a book. It's a personal development program for yourself like no other. It is absolutely fascinating. And I have been in love with the processes of writing various books ever since. And that's why I have a few to my name, because I absolutely love it. I think it's just marvelous. It's a wonderful thing to do. In my opinion, really beats knitting or, other kinds of activities. Let me just say hello to Dieter and to Ilka and to Linda. Hello, guys. Lovely to have you here with me this morning. And, Lorna. Hello, Lorna. I see you too. If I miss you, please don't take that as a personal insult. The screen sort of moves, and I'm thinking obviously about what I'm thinking about. And I do try to pick it up, but if I miss you, be advised, I love you nonetheless. And if I'd seen you, I would have said something. So yeah, write a book. It so happened that in the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I have said this to lots of people, probably because I was talking to them because of the GOE conference. I said, oh, you should write a book about that, or write a book. I said to one person, write a book. And they just reacted with horror. They were like, oh, as though I'd suggested they'd, I don't know, take off all their clothes and ride down naked on a horse, down the high street where they live. Like the thought had never, ever occurred to them. I was like, where do you start? Yes, you should write a book. You have something to say. You have a very specific way of looking at the world and explaining things. You got wonderful way of expressing yourself in words. And I have seen that you can type things on a computer keyboard and transmit a message in that way. So yeah, absolutely you should write a book. Yes, of course you should. Yeah, do it as a fun thing. Doesn't mean to say that you publish it. You can publish it or self-publish it or find a publisher for it, but that's really neither here nor there at this point. Because without the actual act of writing the book, none of this is ever going to happen. So, yeah. And there were some other people I said this to, because it's just, I can see it. I can see the topic. I can see the person. And I'm just like, yeah, write a book. And the reaction is like, whoa, go away with your horrible suggestions, Yikes. I've already got so much to do. My days are already overflowing with all these important activities. From the moment I get up to the moment I go to bed at night, there's never a minute's rest. And this also makes me laugh. I mean, that really, really makes me laugh. because obviously I have been writing books in all sorts of different circumstances, including having loads of kids and dogs and animals and work and outside the home and running around and school runs and earning a living. And I have written books in all sorts of states of life. But the thing is there's always time for a bit of writing. And I really would like to say this. How do you write a book? Yeah, one sentence at a time is how you write a book. One sentence at a time. That sounds like sort of snarky, stupid advice, but it's not. It literally is. You put one sentence after the other, just like you would put one foot after the other if you're trying to go from, I don't know, the kitchen to the bathroom in your house. It is like that, one sentence after the other. And the way I like to write books, and it doesn't really matter whether they are how-tos or poetry books or a novel or an instruction manual, doesn't matter what it is. I like to make it so that when I write a sentence, that the next sentence is related to this first sentence. And then this second sentence sort of gives birth to the third sentence, so that these sentences come together and they become like a flow of not words, but a flow, a story of ideas, of things that belong together. And when you are reading them back, they kind of match up and they create an easy flow for the reader so they can go through this and it all sort of hangs together at the end and makes sense. So yeah, how do you write a book? One sentence at a time. And there's not a person in this world who doesn't have time to write a sentence a day. And that is just a fact. That's a fact, really. Now, when you are, okay, so here's my super tip on this, right? Super tip. Write about something that you find super exciting, that you are really interested in, that you're fascinated about. This is my style of writing. I only write a book when I am in love with the topic, when I'm super excited about it, when I have something to say, when I have something to share, when it really is like, oh yeah, I just want to just engage with that topic and find out how much I know and how to explain this to someone else. And again, this is the same as if you're telling a fairy tale. And there's a word that I use there. See, in my style of writing, and I know it's not the only one, but it works for me. And so I can suggest it to other people to try and find it out. See, I don't write, I talk on paper. I talk on paper. Ha! If I'd written that, I would have stopped and made it bold and put a little asterisk in front of it as an important highlight. I talk on paper. I talk to somebody. I talk to somebody. When I write a fairy tale, I talk to an earnest 5-year-old or 6-year-old child that is looking up at me with big eyes, and I'm sitting on the side of their bed and I'm telling them a story. When I write a poem, I don't know, there is somebody I am writing this story for. I'm telling that poem to. When I write a how-to manual, I'm talking to a real person. I'm saying, hi, I'm Sylvia. This is what I've learned. This is the suggestions I have for you. And there is this real personal thing going on. I'm talking on paper. I don't know, write into an empty well. I don't write into an empty well. I speak on paper. And this is, by the way, if you want to write a book and you don't think you can write a book, it's a brilliant way of writing a book is to just talk about the subject for an hour and then transcribe what it is that you said. That will also create a book, and it'll create a book faster than any other method that I know. There are a few of my books out there which literally are transcripts of something that an aspect said during a training or a lecture or something. But here again, I'm not speaking into an empty room. I'm speaking to the people who are there, and I'm trying to connect with them, and I'm trying to tell them something that I find exciting and that has inspired me. And I hope that they will find it inspiring too. Really, that's the heart of it. If you are inspired, if you are in love with the topic, with the subject, with the style, see, then again, it doesn't matter. If you love poetry, write poetry books. If you're in love with that, if you love doing that, if that is what, literally floats your boat to get higher on the modern energy chart, write a book. It's a wonderful thing. Absolutely wonderful thing. Yes. And if you've already written a few books, write a few more. I'm wondering if this write a book thing that has unfolded here, I didn't know what I was going to be doing this week, and this just came in very late last night. Write a book. Perhaps it's a message for me too. Really cool. So yeah, why not take a moment then? Everybody, and it doesn't matter if you want to write a book or not, okay? But just doesn't matter at all. If you were to write a book, your current book, maybe your first ever book, what would it be about? Who did you want to talk to on paper? Who do you want to communicate with? That's really super cool. And even if you never actually do that physical thing, to just get some energy flowing through a sort of creative circuitry that's quite different from what we activate when we draw or paint. This is an energy flow. So what would your book be about? That's the first thing. What would it be about? Would it be about, I don't know, nature or love? Or who would it be for? Are there some people out there that, I don't know, you could possibly help or inspire in some way because you've been through something they've been through? Or just globally something very inspiring for anybody who gets a hold of it? Something uplifting, something that raises energy? Or about, I don't know, perhaps it could be about your cat, what you've learned from your cat. That'd be a bestseller, instant bestseller. My life lessons I learned from my cat with poems and drawings. Oh my God. Yes, you'd sell a ton of those. But let's not see. I don't believe that you should be looking over your shoulder the whole time on whether people are going to buy the thing or not. But that you should just write it because. See, because. When we communicate in words, there's certain things that happen in our brain, and there's certain things that happen in our energy body, and there's certain circuitry being activated. You can imagine you had one of those caps on with all the little electrical pickup points, and you're asked to, I don't know, say a poem, and there's a big screen, and it shows you which parts of the brain are lighting up when you are thinking about a poem or you're creating a poem. Different areas in the brain are lighting up. When we talk in words, this activates an enormous amount of the human brain. is quite remarkable. It's like a firestorm. When we write things down, that is a variant of the expressing yourself through talking. It's a kind of code. It is a code. Words are a code for human experience. And this code is really endlessly fascinating. And there's so many different things you can do with the basic code. And all those books there behind me, which aren't just books, they're not just bits of paper stuck between two bits of cardboard. These are all books using that code to create something. And I find that literally endlessly fascinating. It's a super beneficial thing to do, to write your book. I'd love to know, put in the comments. Put in the comments what kind of, when I ask that question, what would your book be about? If you have some idea or some kind of, just some sense of what it could be, write it in the comments. Or what you are thinking of doing already or what you've already started. Just put a note in the comments and say that publicly, that my book would be about angels or something, really it's quite interesting. And that brings me to the next thing. I am completely confused by this, Dieter. I have no idea what that means. Let's have a look. How to find your nose in love as an alien? I'm sorry, I literally have no idea what that means. I give up. You find your nose in love as an alien. Well, it could be a book title, I guess. Possibly is that the book title. I don't know. Why not? Yeah. Book titles are funny things. This is also something that, I often think of book titles of books that I will never write, and that just make me laugh, or I find amusing, or just that's a part of this coding system with words that is writing. There are these titles, the big title of the book, Project Sanctuary. And then we've got the subtitles, which is sort of a lower level coding for the book. Then we got headings 1, headings 2, headings 3, the structure of that language, the way it's put together, the paragraphs, the sentences. It is a way of coding human experience in a very particular way. So something that I found really interesting about the experience of having written a book, and we're going all the way back to Your Dog and Your Baby, is that it changes your relationship to all books, to other people's books, to every book. It changes the way you think about books. And that's a big metaphor. That is a huge metaphor. One of the realizations that I had when I was standing on the drive there, young, slim, golden blonde version of myself there, holding that book in my hand, Your Dog and Your Baby, A Practical Guide. One of the realizations I had in that moment was that every book is written by a human being. Every book is written by a human being. That was just mind-blowing. It was a mind-blowing moment, because what I saw there was that if any human being has the right to write a book, if any human being can write a book, then what does that mean? What does that say about where sort of our authorities come from, our law books, our dictionaries. All of that is human made. All of that stuff, the great Alexandrian library, everything, every book ever in any form, it's human made. And if you want, you can write a book. Wow. And that really fundamentally changed the way I looked at reality creation. I looked at even deep sort of law, like justice systems and religions and religious texts. At the end of the day, every book is written by a human being. Now, we can discuss where this human being got the information from that they put in the book, from a divine source, or, we can discuss that. But the fact is that books are written by human beings. And if you can write a book, then you can write what? You can write the rules of the hard at the very least. So because of this threshold shift, it's a real threshold shift to write, having written a book and being an author. It's like you're on the other side of a very fascinating divide that has become softened up in the last few decades with self-publishing and electronic publishing and so on and so on and so on. It is so easy now to do that, to write a book and to publish a book. Everyone can do it, and I believe everybody should. I believe that's the sort of thing that everybody should do. That should absolutely be on the bucket list of every human being who can read and write. Absolutely 100%. Ooh. Hello, Katie. Hello, welcome. This is amazing. I needed some inspiration. I'm in the middle of my second book, your fantasy book incorporating universal laws. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Fantastic. I love fantasy. I have written a few myself, including a trilogy called In Serene. And this is really a space where we can explore the extraordinary and really play. Oh, and that brings me nearest damage to the end of it. Of what I was going to say. Yeah. So Lorna says, writing children's story as a legacy to my grandson. I talked to him. It's called The Disappearing Grandma Who Has Adventures on Different Planets. She brings back different gifts. That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Please, any modern energist, any GOE member, whatever it is that you do, and whether it's related inside, of course it's related. If you are an energist, it's related. Please let other energists know about your books, about your creations, about what it is that you're making, because they will want to, have access to that. They'll want to read it. They'll want to have it in their lives. So, please always share links to your books, share links to your stories, to your products, to your paintings, to your jewelry, whatever it is that you're making, your clothes. It's like, if you're a homeopath, then you want to go to a homeopathic vet. This if you want to buy children's books, you want to buy them from somebody who is an energist and who has love in their hearts and isn't doing something weird and creepy, if that makes sense. So please do share these things. Let's have a look. Ilka, I'm finishing now the books I started years ago. That's kind of groovy. It's shaking hands with the aspects across time and space. Yeah, make sure you finish them too. Very important about writing books. You need to finish them at some point. Hello, Samit. Your book cover is amazing. Bring positive energy into me. Who is the designer? I have designed all my book covers. As a self-published person, I have that ability to decide what's going on the book cover. And I've just gone with what I wanted, what I felt matched the content the best. And so I'm really happy about that too. I'm really, really happy about that. And I encourage, now look, when I started self-publishing, it meant that you were a terrible author and that the only reason you were self-publishing was because nobody would publish you. With the changes and the demise of the publishing industry, everybody self-publishes now, so that whole stigma has gone. And self-publishing gives you that wonderful gift of being able to put the image on the cover of your book that you want to be on the cover of your book. I've had a few translated titles, and particularly the German ones the covers are so hideous and so depressing. I mean, I just don't even want to pick them when they come in the post, because I have no control over that. When the author's versions come in the post and I look at them, I just, my heart bleeds. Nowadays, that's not a problem. Don't worry about publishers. They're really going out of business. Self-publish, choose your own covers, and experience the joy of that. It's quite wonderful. Let's have a look what Linda says. I find writing is good for the soul, but so hard to actually begin. Okay, once flowing, then I feel I'm channeling from my higher self. Right, okay. Well, we are modern energists, so what we can do is we can, right at the beginning, assume the heart position and make a setup for the book. I'm going to write an amazing book about aromatherapy for the soul. This is my will. And we get a blank document up and type the words over the top. Aromatherapy for your soul by Sylvia Hartman. Now we have a document. And it's quite wonderful. So what's the very first thing? Very first thing I want to say to people at the beginning of this book? There's a person walking into the room and looking at me all expectantly. Somebody who's interested in aromatherapy. Somebody, who's into it, who loves it, loves the scent and the energy of that, and loves working with that. So I'm saying to that person, hey, welcome. Welcome. You take my hand. Together, we're going to explore the energetic qualities of aromatherapy oils. Everybody's always talking about how they, I don't know, cure verrucas or something horrible like that. But there's so much more to them. They're so radiant and amazing. And look, I'm getting all excited just talking about it. Yeah, just be excited about it. This is where the flow starts, +5 and above. And what happens, and this is such a wonderful thing and why I recommend it so much, what happens is that as you're writing this and you're getting into this, like I was just getting into this aromatherapy thing, your energy becomes high and the writing itself raises your energy. And then that creates wonderful flowing writing, and something that, when you have lovely flowy writing, one chapter after the other, after the other, after the other, you end up with a very energy-rich, powerful, inspiring object at the end. Oh, God, it's such a good thing. I love it. I love it so very, very much. Let's see what Lorna says. My energy mind is a great help when finding images for illustrations for my space vehicle. Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday I saw a short interview with John Cleese, the now old English master comedian, intellectual, writer, philosopher, a man of tremendous life experience that should not be underestimated. And he's just written a book called Creativity. So he's talking about that creativity comes from the subconscious mind. And I'm so sorry that he's using that old terminology. There's so much bullshit. That's the only word I have for that. So much bullshit written about the subconscious mind. I was so horrified when I my second book that I wrote was Project Sanctuary. And yeah, that was before I wrote that, I looked into what was written about the so-called subconscious mind. And it was such bullshit. It just made me weep. It made me weep. And to this day, it makes me weep. When he says connect with your subconscious mind, all that Freudian nonsense starts swirling of this horrible, and it's all nebulous and horrible and nasty and slimy. Oh, God, no. Which is why this is one of those things that are so important. When you are coding human experience into language, which is something that I do, this is a rotten fish in the barrel, is the word subconscious mind. I don't want it. So I pushed that aside and said, okay, we're going to talk about the energy mind, which is literally the head of your energy body, the brain of your energy body. And it sends you these data streams of visions and sensations and pictures and sounds and feelings and sense and sensations. It sends you these data streams. And we can ask it to send specific data streams, but only if we're not stressed out of our minds. When we're stressed, the dear energy mind sends nightmares. Simple. And the more stressed you are, the worse nightmarish they become. And then they become less and less nightmarish until they're sort of boring. And then we go up, and now they're starting to become interesting. And then they become super exciting. And then they become absolutely amazing. And then they become visionary, or, really +10 super stuff, real super creative stuff. And that's really simple. And if you have come across this stream and you want to write a book, please download my my ebook Revolution. It's short, it's free, and it'll explain to you how that works, how stress, first makes this energy stream from the dear energy mind chaotic, and then very disturbed, and then it stops altogether. And that's your writer's block, your depression, and it's really nasty. What we do to get out of that is we raise energy. We do something to spin our energy body back up again, so that this connection with the dear energy mind becomes re-established. So I'm sorry, guys, I just had to put that in there in case there were any newbies listening. So, yeah, writing a book, coding with language, learning these innate codings that we use with language, understanding them, that's really important to me. And this is why I probably have, done all these different styles of things over the years, to explore that, because different styles of writing, like poetry or fairy tales, proper fairy tale writing style, is quite different from, say, fantasy fiction or science fiction or short stories. There's this all kinds of different writing styles that slightly that shift and set the energy of what you're going to be doing. And at the end of the day, people think writing is a lonely activity, but it isn't. It is a writer communicating across space and time with certain people. And certain people will be able to hear their voice across space and time. Not read their words. Hear their voice as the storyteller unfolds the story for you. Be that a story of being in a workshop, personal development book, how to stay happy. 7 tips for happiness. Yeah, I'm working on that at the moment. Oh yeah, cool. That's yeah. All right. We've been here for a while, so let me conclude with this. In the past, writing a book, people really thought of it like a thing. You have to write this tome, and it's going to take 30 years of your life, and it's going to be gigantic. And yeah, these days have to a great degree gone. People haven't got time, they haven't got the attention span, especially at the moment. And thanks to all the modern media, people have the attention span of a fruit fly. They can't handle long books anymore. So if you are starting in 2021 or any other time beyond that with writing a book, well, keep it short. Don't make it 100,000 words, 500,000 words. Keep it short. Make your book short so that the busy, distracted people of this time space can, manage to absorb at least some of it. Shall we say, at least some of it. Keep it short. Doesn't mean to leave out many things. It means to rethink the book idea. In the past, the more at school, you have to write this essay and it's got to be 2,500 words. And so you pad it out. And back in the day, when there were physical books on shelves, you had to have a spine presence. So the book had to have, the bigger the spine, the more impressive the book. And this is of the days gone by. This is a virtual, you can't tell from those pictures behind me how long these books are, or how big they are, or how heavy they are, or how much they weigh, or how many words they contain. You can't tell. You can't tell that on Amazon. You can see that it says 74 pages, 75 pages. And people might want to buy a book with 500 pages, but will they read the 500 pages? I don't know. So expressing your ideas in a condensed form is also, for today's thing, a challenge. It's a good challenge to be more precise, not waffle, say what you want to say, clearly, concisely, and that way even a stressed person can possibly hear some of what you are trying to tell them. And again, I'm using that saying, speaking, telling. It is communication with language. It is that code that is writing. Okay, right. So, all right, guys. Yeah, that was write a book. Yes, I mean you. Write a book. Doesn't have to be long. It can be any style you want. But it's got to be about something that you find super exciting to talk about to someone, to talk about on paper to someone. And know that your thoughts and experiences are just as relevant as those of some Nobel Peace Prize winner. Don't worry about other writers. There's no competition here. There is literally no competition here. Your voice, your story, your book, your project. And I'll close with one thing that my dear Energy Mind just sent me. Writing a book is a project. Okay? It's a project. I'm just going to, let's use that. It's a project. I want to write a book. 7 Tips for Happiness by Sylvia Hartman. Shortest book I've ever written. 10 pages, if that. There's only 7 tips. Basically embodying what I just said. Huh, how interesting. Yeah, 7 tips for happiness. This is a project. So we may consider to just when you're thinking about writing this book that you're wanting to write, or that you should be writing, or that I want you to write very madly, I want you to write that book. I want you to be a billion-selling, best-selling author with all my heart. You know, somebody's got to do it. I'm not doing it, clearly. Somebody's got to do it. Perhaps it's you. That just opens the door to the entire world, to modern energy, because of the fabulous way that you said it. I'd love that. God, yeah, I'd love that. So let's look at our book project here for a moment. If you feel flat or unhappy about it in any way, or you're not feeling inspired, tune back into the original project. What was that idea? What was that spark, the original spark that made you want to do this? That's the first thing to remember. And then the second thing is, what can we give this project so that it'll really shine and be exciting and draw me in, so I can't wait to finish it? What does that project need? Does it need more love? Yay! Does it need more care and attention? More, oh, I don't know, what do you call that? Expectation of success. Are you doubting your project in some way? And it's getting sad and depressed. And, oh, no, come on. I have faith in you, project. You're a wonderful project. Good project. Oh, look, it's all happy again now. Yeah. So what does your project need? And you can then, give it that love, care, attention, faith. Oh, dear project, I'll take good care of you. And in return, you'll be exciting, and you are something that I'd love to get into. So yeah, there's so many things in modern energy we can do as writers to just get through all these blockages, doubts, weirdnesses. You can just tap. I'm a best-selling author. I'm a best-selling author. You can tap that. I'm the world's greatest author. Best writer that's ever been. And this is making me laugh and giggle. And that's exactly what we want. So one time more back to John Cleese. He said, I'm going to translate this because I can't get it over my lips. The energy mind sends us our ideas. It's the wellspring of all of our creativity. And that works the best when we play. John Cleese said that we need to play like a child plays, with that single-minded, focused attention. There's nothing else there, no disturbances, no disruptions. We just get to really play. And that's when the energy mind jumps to life and starts sending you all these wonderful creative ideas. And that is exactly correct. That is my observation. 100%. This is how it works. So my final tip is on writing the book: be playful with it. Please, please, please don't be dour. Don't try and impress some academic who's going to hate you anyway. Be playful. Invite people to play with you, which is what I do. That's exactly what I do. I invite people to play with me when I write a book. We might be playing a fantasy game. We might be playing at poetry. We might be playing at personal development. But it is that. It's not work. It's not meant to be work. It's not meant to be work to write a book, and it isn't meant to be work to read a book. That's really where I wanted to end up and leave us here. So go on, guys. You do this and go and write some books. And for the love of God, one of you go and become $1 million, million trillion copy best-selling author, translated into thousands of languages around the planet to bring the joy of modern energy to all. I would absolutely love it if you did that. And not just one of you, all of you. Everyone. Everyone who writes about modern energy should be a best-selling author. Absolutely. So, and in that sense, I'm going to say thank you very much. Lots and lots of love to you. Keep writing. Let us know what you're writing about so we can cheer you on and encourage you, because we want to hear what you have to say. With all my very best to you and all you wonderful writers to be out there. Lots of love, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again for next week's Sunday Live with Sylvia. Bye for now. He, she, it who writes is young every day. Absolutely.